This program continues the February 27th routing survey of the Manhattan West 73rd Street panel. Here we're dialing around the metropolitan area to see which switching machines, which tandems, handle which areas, and this includes the gaps in coverage caused by the fire early on the 27th. In the previous program, we covered the outgoing long-distance outlets, as well as everything to reach physical Long Island. So far, we've come across 7 different outgoing tandem routes that work and 2 that don't. So now let's try Staten Island. 273 is a crossbar 5 in the central office building referred to as North Staten Island. This is the area that you'll be in if you step off the Staten Island ferry. Well, it turns out the entirety of Staten Island cannot be dialed at this time. The route that it is attempting is that same route that it was using for Lynbrook, Long Island, as well as parts of the Queens and Richmond Hill sectors, and part of the Brooklyn sector as well. Now, Staten Island, from the panel payphones I've used in Manhattan, always used to go through suburban tandem. That got changed in 1974 so that now it ought to go through Midtown.
Recording 21221.
And the funny thing is, from the payphone downstairs in the pharmacy, it does go through Midtown. But up here in the apartment from this home line, no part of Staten Island is going through. So I've been dialing around Manhattan and the Bronx, and I'm actually kind of surprised at how many direct trunks there are. The panels I've worked with before at payphones aren't as big as this one. This panel has 4 office codes: Endicott 2, Schuyler 4, Trafalgar 4, and Trafalgar 7. All 4 of those office codes are full of subscribers, and there are no plans to discontinue them. Unlike a lot of panel codes, such as Longacre 5 down in West 36th Street, which is just plain being discontinued, these 4 codes are staying. And with all those subscribers, they can afford to build direct trunk groups to most of the offices in Manhattan, a whole bunch in the Bronx, and also in Western Queens and Western Brooklyn. And of course, there's no alternate routing in panel, so those direct trunks are full trunk groups. It always goes through direct. And there's enough trunks to handle the rush hour successfully. Here's calling Wadsworth 3, a panel in West 176th Street, Manhattan. That is in the part of Manhattan that is honorarily a part of the Bronx. It's even in the Tremont
21226
sector. But here it doesn't matter. It's just a direct trunk all the time, day and night.
Operator method of me calling?
Yes, Wadsworth 3, 7859.
Thank you. WA3 7859 is a working number. Will you dial it again, please? WA3 7859 is a working number. Will you dial it again, please? If you need assistance, you may stay on the line, and an operator will answer. Operator.
Yes, that was what it sounded like. She answered operator and then pressed the release key without waiting to hear a response. That's Manhattan for you. But I have an even worse example coming up. This goes to a crossbar 1 in the Grand Concourse building. If you listen to the pulsing after I dial the number, which on this call I dial all at once, you can probably guess how the call is going through.
Hello?
I have a number calling, please.
Oh, 731-1111. Operator?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to dial a number. 731-1111.
It's disconnected, sir. I thought I said that already.
I'm sorry you didn't.
No, I know I said it.
You think you said it twice now?
This is the second time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that's the way it is to deal with Manhattan intercept operators, and we certainly had to do that a lot with all these preservation tapes.
You're telling me I'm sleeping on the job, right? Well, I have news for you. I'm knitting.
Anyway, back to how that call went through. As I'm dialing the last 5 digits, actually flashing them, you can hear 2 panel pulse digits occurring simultaneously. Then after that, you can hear a very familiar pattern. Two revertive pulse digits, and then 5, and then a pause, and then it cuts through and rings. This is the way it sounds when your panel is using the revertive layer. In this case, it's York Tandem. Now for the tandems that this panel MFs to, we can force the tandem to give us a recording by dialing extra digits, because on an MF trunk, the digits get sent along. But on an RP or PCI outgoing trunk, extra digits don't do a darn thing. However, there is another way to get the tandem to give us a recording, because the revertive tandem trunks tend to be very sensitive to juice. Here's a supervision test in OL5, which is now an ESS in Kruger Avenue, Bronx. It goes through York. After the test completes, I'll trigger the tandem to give us a recording.
I'm sorry. Your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again?
Recording 21218.
I'm sorry. Your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again?
Recording 21218.
After the 3rd digit was dialed on that last call, and on most of these calls through York, you can clearly hear that it's going through the revertive layer, because the first 2 digits are coming from a panel switch, and the second 2 are coming from a crossbar tandem. Here's one more direct trunk call where you can hear that all 4 digits are coming from panel switches, like this. This is to a supervision test in TA3 across Bar 1 in Tratman Avenue, Bronx. That call timed out and went back to dial tone, just like a local call where the called party had hung up after answering. Normally, a supervision test doesn't go off hook long enough to look like a completed call and there's no charge. But this time it looks like we were charged for that. It happens fairly often from this particular panel. Here's a call to the XX4 Crossbar 1 in Kruger Avenue, Bronx. This time we're lucky enough to get a flashing busy signal. This call goes through York. Funny how in the 1970s those just kept turning up, not in panels, but in number 1 and number 5 crossbar. They all used to flash at some point before my time, but in the 70s they were just leftovers and you would get them. Mott Haven 9 is a panel in the East 150th Street building in the Bronx. Here's a busy signal there that doesn't flash. It goes through York. So anyway, I've been having a heck of a time finding anything in Manhattan that goes through a tandem. This panel is just too big. It has direct trunks to almost everything in Manhattan. Now, Crossbar 5 Centrex codes have a tendency to go through tandems whenever possible, and the reason is that they have to be able to transfer incoming calls. That is a disincentive to building direct trunks because each and every direct trunk has to have an expensive incoming trunk circuit. So they're much more likely to send those through a tandem. 363 is a Crossbar 5 Centrex code which became famous because it was one of the first to have international direct distance dialing, predating international dialing on ESS. This office was also the home of North America's earliest international DDD demonstration recordings.
Call me now, I'm waiting, 363-8889.
In Luxembourg, you'll hear this tone. God damn it!
So this one has a lot of history. On this call, though, Ben just dialed a ringing number. That did go through a tandem, and it was York. Now, normally, wherever you have a panel using York tandem,
Recording 21218.
that same panel is going to use Amsterdam tandem number 1,
Recording 21219.
because between them, the entire Manhattan and Bronx territory is covered. So let's try a Centrex code in the Amsterdam covered area. You know, there are several central offices in Manhattan that are pure crossbar 5 Centrex. 363 that we called just now is at 60 Broad Street. There's another one of those at 200 Park Avenue. Here's a call to 983 in that office. It'll probably go through Amsterdam 1.
You have reached a non-working line at Ketchum, McLeod, and Grove. If you are calling from outside and require operator assistance, please call or dial 983-8000. If you are inside, dial 0 for operator. This is a recorded announcement. You have reached a non-working line at Ketchum, McLeod, and Grove.
Actually, no, that appears to have gone through Midtown tandem. And as if to underline the point, we had a long key pulse. I don't know what causes that, but I have been hearing that since 1970. There are certain senders in crossbar tandems that do that. Maybe they used the wrong electrolytic capacitor? I don't know. Anyway, 262 is in 1290 Avenue of the Americas, another one of those crossbar 5 Centrex only COs. Let's see how that goes through. Again, that sounds like Midtown, and we happen to get a panel sender that clicked after every digit Ben dialed. I don't think I've heard that before. Okay, Mott Haven 5 is a crossbar 1 in East 150th Street, Bronx. Happens to have pseudo-modern ring. I don't know why, but the panel in that building does have city ring. Anyway, here's a supervision test in 665. Maybe this will go through Amsterdam Tandem 1. Nope, that went through Midtown, which RP'd to the crossbar 1. And we got timed out again. Probably we were charged. You know, this is really the only thing about the West 73rd Street panel that I could complain about. I was served by it for a couple of years. It really is good, but apparently not so much on having the right amount of supervision grace, because that should not have timed me out. Now, just to prove it is Midtown, let's dial extra digits on Mott Haven 5. For some reason, Midtown responds to extra digits with the vacant code recording instead of the P, your call did not go through, recording.
I'm sorry, we are unable to complete your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or ask your operator for assistance. Recording 21221. I'm sorry, we are unable to complete your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again, or ask your operator for assistance. Recording 21221. I'm sorry, we are unable to complete your call as dialed.
All of these codes that are going through Midtown now used to go through Suburban Tandem, a panel sender tandem that was the default route for panels all over the city. But in 1974 that changed. Now the default route for any panel is whatever the outgoing sector tandem is for its area. That's Midtown here. This panel MFs to Midtown, which is a new thing. Scanning through all the offices, it seems there is no use of Amsterdam Tandem 1 from this particular panel. Now, I didn't expect this, but apparently everything that would have gone through Amsterdam 1 went through Suburban, and now it goes through Midtown just because of the update. It makes sense in a way because there are fewer offices covered by Amsterdam Tandem 1 than York, and most of those are very close, mileage-wise, to this panel, which means there are more likely to be direct trunks, no need to use a tandem, and the number of codes left over that could go through Amsterdam is such a small number that it didn't make sense to have an Amsterdam trunk group. They just dumped them all on Suburban. From number 1 crossbar, you can have a small trunk group to Amsterdam Tandem 1, which overflows to Suburban. But you can't do that from panel, so you really have to think about If you're going to build a trunk group to a tandem, you want to make sure it's big enough to be worth having at all because you can't alternate route. So, no Amsterdam 1 from this panel. So for calling Manhattan and Bronx, we have direct trunks, York, and Midtown, and that's pretty much it, except for the 5 Manhattan Centrex tandems. Now that Midtown is the default, it is also used for things like the Centrex codes in the outer boroughs, the telco official codes that are free, and other various and sundry leftover functions, including the Twining 5 office code for Long Island businesses that want New York City numbers. Here's a Tremont
21226
Centrex code 920 going through Midtown. Midtown MFs it to Tremont, which dial pulses to the step Centrex, although these trunks don't let you hear the pulsing. "240" is a Centrex code in Bushwick. This panel does have direct trunks to Bushwick, but as is often the case, the Centrex codes don't use them. I don't know whether that's an oversight or if there's a good reason for it. In any case, this used to go through Suburban to Pulse Conversion Tandem and then to Bushwick. Now it just goes to Midtown, which MFs to Bushwick on a wire trunk, and Bushwick doesn't let you hear the pulsing. "391" in Hempstead, Long Island is a telephone company Centrex. It's free, and it goes through Midtown, which MFs it to Hempstead Tandem 1 or 2.
5167, 5166.
In this case over an N3 family carrier trunk. This ring is coming from a step-by-step PBX located in the Hempstead Central Office Building. Had we called Twining 5, it would have gone through the same way, except we would have ended up on a crossbar 5, and it wouldn't be free. these last 3 calls would have gone through Suburban Tandem a year ago, and it was using pulse conversion tandem so as to be able to get to Tremont, Bushwick, or Hempstead, all of which required MF, which Suburban couldn't do. The way it goes through now is actually simpler and easier, but not as cool. Now, to be complete, before we leave New York City, let's make one call to each of the 5 Manhattan Centrex tandems. First, let's cover the 2 newest Centrex tandems, which this panel has direct trunks to, and it uses MF. First, we have Lexington, installed in 1968. This, by the way, is the first part of the New York City local network to which panel offices began using MF. Before Lexington, they didn't use MF in the local network at all. Let's just dial extra digits on a 360 call.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 21244. I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 21244. I'm sorry, your call did not go through.
That actually proved that the Lexington tandem route is there and is doing fine. Let's do it again with East 97th Street Tandem 4. Here's extra digits dialed on a 650 call.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? Recording 21248. I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again?
East 97th is working great, and the recording still sounds like hell. That recording is talkable, by the way. Now, Manhattan panels, including this one, always PCI to the other 3 Centrex tandems, and there's no way to screw with a PCI trunk so that it makes the tandem fail. So let's check VZ Tandem 2
2127.
by dialing a working 553 number. VZ2 is working perfectly, and there we heard the typical loud pulsing, followed by a cut-through sound like this. That's VZ2. Now let's try Amsterdam Tandem 2
Recording 21219.
by dialing a number in a working 340 group. the Amsterdam to route works great, but, dude, maybe you ought to call poison control? I'm not sure what you ingested there. All right, now, 10th Avenue, Tandem 1.
21211.
Sounds like Amsterdam 2, but the cut-through click, instead of being just a little bloop, is like this. Here's a working group in 484.
Stay non-working number at con. Please stay non-working number at con. Please stay non-working number at con. Please stay non-working number at con.
The 10th Avenue Tandem 1 route is working quite well, notwithstanding that recording. If you go north and northeast out of the Bronx, you're in what the phone company refers to as southern Westchester County, which is message unit calling from here. It's all area code 914. Here's a call to a Crossbar 5 in New Rochelle, 576 office code.
I'm sorry, the number you have reached is not in service or temporarily disconnected. The number you have reached is not in service at this time. This is a recording.
This is Yonkers Intercept. That was the Yonkers Intercept recording. It's early in the morning, so let's not wait. We'll talk to him on another call. Calls to this part of Westchester County are going through the revertive layer, as you can tell here. Yep, so there is a tandem in there, which is Mount Vernon Tandem 1, 9145. I wish I could show you the recording, but Ben or I never tried resetting it. I don't know why, it never occurred to us. In the New York area, there are several sets of intercept operators. Some only operate during the daytime. Yonkers Intercept, however, is more traditional for the Bell system. It operates 24 hours a day, and the operators also handle directory assistance. Sometimes they will answer with the wrong phrase.
Directory? Directory?
Hello?
What number are you calling?
Oh, calling Yonkers 3 9968.
Thank you. Would you hang up and dial the number again so you've reached the special operator?
Okay, thank you.
Now there's a malfunction. It shouldn't have gone back to ringing. And in this case, the operator will not come back on again. That was a Yonkers number 1 crossbar. You can tell it was crossbar 1 by this sound. Crossbar 1 and step are the only switch types that make that noise, although Bill Acker told me that in Philadelphia the panels did it. I don't have it on tape, haven't heard it. Here's a supervision test in Pelham 8, a crossbar 1 in the New Rochelle Central Office, which serves the nearby Pelham community. Here's another one of those flashing busy signals, this time in the Mamaroneck OW8 crossbar 5. Calls to southern Westchester seem to be working quite well, going through Mount Vernon Tandem 1. Until you go out as far as White Plains. Here's 914 White Plains 9. Oh boy, that's the fire again. And this time the route that's being attempted is the same one we got trying to call Hempstead, Long Island. We haven't seen this for a while. Okay, so now we've surveyed the entire area, and it's actually more complex than even I expected. This panel uses 17 distinct tandem routes, including the Centrex tandems, and 2 of those have been knocked out by the fire. One of the 2 routes that doesn't work is what we got trying to call White Plains and Hempstead, and that points up a pattern that I did not expect, because guess what? White Plains and Hempstead are the same distance from here. Each is between 20 and 25 miles away. And as it turns out, everything local that's between 20 and 30 miles is trying to go through one of those routes that the fire has knocked out. And then everything between 10 and 20 miles away, with one exception, is trying to go through that other broken down route. And they're breaking up the sectors based on distance. Richmond Hill sector goes through Richmond Hill until you get over 10 miles, and then it tries that other thing. Same thing with the Queens sector, same thing with the Brooklyn sector, and Staten Island is entirely between 10 and 20 miles away, so that's trying to go through it too. So there are two tandem routes that are very much tied up with distance. It even holds true in Nassau County, Long Island, where the part that is less than 20 miles away goes through one of those routes, and then the rest goes through the other, except for the Suffolk border zones, which just go through the toll network. But see, that's a distance thing too. Everything over 30 miles, they just send to the long-distance tandem.
21243.
Right. What the heck is it about distance? Hempstead and White Plains, in two different directions, go through the same tandem? Usually it's by region, but they're breaking the regions up. Distance, distance, distance. Very important for some reason. Now, based on research that we're going to do in later 1975, I can tell you that the tandem that is being used for distances between 20 and 30 miles is City Tandem. And the other one that is mostly but not entirely used for distances between 10 and 20 miles is Interzone Tandem. But why? Well, I didn't find out until Thanksgiving, and I'll show you our discovery in the final program of the Fire series. The next program will start with news reports, and will continue with the material we recorded up to and possibly including Restoral of Service Day.